One of the topics we had been brainstorming, it's been on the list for a while, that I kind of had my eye on was tips for building a loyal, local fan base. I'm proud to say I do have a not huge, but a darn loyal local fan base for a number of my projects. And I've had them for different kinds of projects over different kinds of time. Is that a target you've ever had, Adam? Like people that come to your things over and over again?
Well, yeah, and I think that over time you inevitably curate those things. That if you're interested in connecting with people in the area that you're working in, yeah, you hope to see familiar faces every time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've always been intentional about fostering, curating that following consistently.
Right.
I've definitely spent seasons pouring into it, and it's one of those things that could be a full-time job. The fact that you've systematized it at all is impressive and wondrous to me.
That might be a little bit of a strong word for it, but I'd say it's more accurate to say I've fallen into it backwards, but I maybe have learned from the fall.
Sure.
Couple of things that I think I know about it is that people come to your things when they're a follower of you. It's not necessarily because the music is so great, although it better be. It's not because the performance is so special, although it'd be good if it is. It's because of their connection with you. It's always personal. So my current project has a number of people who just come to all of our things. They tend to be, actually, I'm not really the driver of that. My drummer, Charlie, always has a table or two or three, pretty much every time. He's a strong inviter and a strong leader, and he has always had, a cadre of people who now I know, and, we say hi to him on the way in and whatnot. I think I mostly built what following I have personally around my recurring weekly events, the recurring trivia event that I was doing in Lexington, North Carolina. Some of the people who came to that were coming every week. It was their every Wednesday thing, and they loved it, and they were heartbroken when it ended. And a number of them have stuck around. I keep seeing them showing up at my things. My most loyal following, I'm going to call her a follower. It's weird for me to say that I have fans. Mm-hmm. And I say that out loud in the show. Like, I'm just a guy. What do I need with fans? But I do have some people who call themselves that.
I want to circle back to that, but keep going.
Okay. All right. There is like a bit of a humble brag embedded in that. I will confess. I was playing one of my early acoustic gigs, one of my very first ones I ever did here in town. And there was a woman sitting there wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, tie-dyed Grateful Dead shirt. And it wasn't it was like early evening, it was like a 6 to 9 show, and it was at about 6:45. I saw her sitting there, and I played Scarlet Begonias. And she grooved to it and vibed to it. And then the next thing I did, I played Wish You Were Here. Just seemed right for the sound. And she was into it. She was super into it. And then she came to the next show that I played and the one after that. And her name's Diane. I didn't meet her in person. Like she was there. She was actually pre-gaming a Grateful Dead tribute act that was playing across town here at this bar that we were at. So she was, just caught me incidentally, but she has become one of the people who, like, if I'm playing music and Diane's not in the room, I kind of don't know who I am. Like her reaction and her interaction with me and my performing is so enlivening to me as a performer. And it's, we're now friends. Like we hang out. Our kids know each other. It's now more than just music where a relationship lives. She's a big tie-dyer. She does tie-dye. She's like a tie-dye artist. Mm-hmm. And her tie-dyeing artist name is Tie Diane.
Nice.
Which is pretty good. And then two of the people who were at the recurring thing in Lexington, Christy and Rebecca, and their partners and some circle of friends around them are now the same level of regulars. They come to absolutely everything.
Yeah.
How did I accomplish that? Well, I was personally available in my performance. I wasn't like hiding behind anything, and I was connecting with them as I performed. When I saw them again, I went out of my way to say hi to them, even if I hadn't heard their name yet. I recognized their faces. I'm bad with names. I'm really good with faces.
Yeah.
So I'll recognize somebody if I've seen them before and like, hey, great to see you again. Sorry, tell me your name. But if you do that, if you go out of your way and make that connection it fosters something, right? And then there's building your show so that it is something that only you can provide. I mean, I'm the only person in town doing live acoustic karaoke, only person in town doing live acoustic trivia, only person in town with the kinds of bands I have that are special in the ways that they are. So people who that all appeals to, they're gonna come to me. I have some karaoke regulars who I know they do karaoke. They cheat on me with like karaoke DJ people.
Yeah.
But every time I'm playing, they're there. Like, not questioning that they're there. There's a really great couple, both of them fantastic singers, who I learned a song for him. I'm not going to be able to come up with what it was, but it was like their song. It was the song that he played when he asked her to marry him.
Yeah.
And it was their anniversary one night, and so he put in a request for it early, and we had it. We nailed it. It was great. She was a mess. It was awesome. But being able to do that with people and being able to dig into what matters to them and their relationships and their, and then, oh, great, well, we'll see you next time. And I think that's really what it is. It's about the personal relationship. Mm-hmm. I also have some tricks that I do in my marketing spiel that is, I've shared it a couple of times before, and I'll do it again here for first time hearers of it, that is about that personal relationship. I had this thought about these people who, God bless them, come to most of the things I do. And I thought about how do I appreciate them and how do I make there be like 10 times as many of them. And I happened to be sitting in the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru at the time. And I realized what I need is a punch card. I need like a loyalty card. And so I did. I made a business card designed with a photo of me on one side and on the other side, 8 little circles. And I bought a rubber stamp, self-inking stamp that is roughly my logo, star with a mic in the middle of it. And what it is the Dan Ray Music Special Besties Club. And if you get this card stamped 8 times, you win a special piece of Dan Ray merch that's not available anywhere else. It has been a pint glass. I'm almost out of them now, so I'm going to need to figure out what the next thing is going to be. But so Diane now has like 6 of those pint glasses.
Wow.
And Christy has, I think, 4. And, other people have certain numbers of them. But that did build a certain, like, I'd finish a show and, like, there'd be 12 people coming up to me for their stamps. I was like, wow,
that's awesome.
Right, well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I like that. And even if I never see them again, they've left with, like, a thing and a stamp on it and this QR code and this guy. They have a story that they can tell their friends and themselves about this fun night they had and have a way to get in touch with me or find out what I'm doing. So it's a piece of takeaway souvenir, it's not even merch. It's just a little souvenir that it's got my marketing
promotional material.
There you go. So that's that. I invite you to steal that. Feel free. Make yourself a special besties club. But even that, it's all going to be about how you interact with them as a person. It's going to be about being someone they want to be friends with. In a previous project, my co-frontman was the most charismatic human being on the entire planet. And we had people show up to our shows repeatedly just because he had some moment of connection with them and they felt a friendship and it pulled to them. And we built a pretty solid turnout, literally on the strength of like 30 seconds with him was a powerful experience.
Wow. That's
not something I think anyone can replicate. If I knew a way to have those kind of interpersonal chops, I'd be a billionaire cult leader or something.
I mean, certainly there's probably some stuff that like you saw him do that you picked up on, like
he was always more interested in you. It always seemed like he was glad to be getting to meet you. Mm-hmm. It was always about like how cool you are. And genuinely, I mean, there's nothing put on about it. It was absolutely sincere. Never too busy. Never, sorry, I got to wrap these cables. And for those of us who were wrapping the cables, sometimes that was a pain in the ass because, like, stop schmoozing, man. Like, I want to get out of here, right? But it was valuable schmoozing because he was causing the turnout for our next show. Yeah, I'd say that's my biggest takeaway from him is like be genuinely engaged and genuinely interested, and got him in trouble sometimes, but for the most part that worked for him.
The thing that I think a lot of us do though is we try to be interesting in this very like passive way so that we are pursued, but then we also don't necessarily have the great follow through and social, adeptness. to foster that in the right way. And I still struggle with that post gig, like, hi, nice to meet you thing. And it's one of the things that I am like the most annoyed with about myself is when people say that I appear or put off that I am unapproachable. Like, I don't like that. I don't want to be unapproachable. I want to be approachable. It's just, this weird adaptation I had to come up with to, not be vulnerable at some point in my life.
Protect yourself from something.
But now I'm in my 40s and I need people more now than ever.
That's right.
And I don't have the juice, and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So on the note that I wanted to circle back on, you had this moment where you wanted to say the F word and you kind of tensed up and you didn't want to say it because the idea that you had fans was so strange and uncomfortable to you. And I only brought this up because a couple of weeks ago, one of the dudes that listens to the show and keeps up, his name's Derek Flores. He's in Texas, and he made a video on TikTok about musicians stop calling the people who come to your shows fans. It's embarrassing. And I kind of stitched that video and was like, hey, do you think that this may be just some like self-defeating like mindset that's keeping you from accepting the fact that other people are fans of what you do?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh crap. Maybe. And I do feel like it's okay to say that you have fans. I mean, at this point, we have a following online. Like, there are people who appreciate our output, but do not know us personally.
Right.
That classification means that they are a fan and not a friend. Now, some of the folks who listen to the show are now our friends because of, outside the show stuff.
Yep. But
I think that's just it's a limiting mindset. It's something that you can just it's okay to do that. And even if they become your friends, that's okay too. Ultimately, that's what you're hoping for, is that you foster enough of a relationship with, people who support you that they become a part of, your circle of support. So the fan to friend pipeline is a good thing.
To friend pipeline. So chill out about that is what you're saying. Actually, all three of those women refer to themselves as my groupies, which is I'm a little bit alarmed.
You can push that one back a little bit. That's fair.
Yeah.
As a married man, you could say that.
Yeah, I do. But yes, it's a good point. How do you foster fans? How do you fan the flames of friends into fans?
Yeah, if there are people that come to your show that don't know your kids' names, that's really the way that you kind of separate the two. That's kind of the way I classify it.
Yeah,
and it's okay for those people to just be fans, because there's something about that dynamic that a lot of people appreciate. There are people who just appreciate music, and they find a lane of folks that they really dig, and they go to all of their shows, and it doesn't go beyond that, and that's okay too. There's all these different dynamics that you kind of have to interact with, and I think it's also okay to not feel like you can put up boundaries around certain things with certain people, and so the whole fandom thing to me is it is kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it is happening. That those people exist, sure. And you can call them whatever you want to, but they are fans of yours.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're trying to build a fan base. The episode is not called Tips for Building a Local Friend Base, though that would probably be a much more successful show.
Maybe.
I think more people might tune in.
Broader audience for it, yeah.
How do I make friends? Listen.
I mean, that's the question these days.
Ask open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Follow up.
Yeah.
Remember key details. I'm reading a book about how to be better at social interactions. This lady that shows up on my TikTok, Vanessa something or other. Let me look that up, because it is a good book. Vanessa Van Edwards.
Right.
So she's got a bunch of stuff. She's got a YouTube channel primarily, but she wrote this book about just how to be memorable in social interactions, and tips and tricks on how to read people and that kind of thing. It is it's thick, data wise, because everything is super analytical and empirical data out the wazoo, but
Sources
it's delivered
cited.
Yes, but it's delivered a really, really like delicious little package. And so if you can do the work, I think it could be super effective. And you also
What's
just have to
the
be in
name?
the
What's the name of the book?
There's two of them. There's Captivate, and then there's another one. Check out her stuff because it's fascinating, and it is absolutely skills and stuff that you could learn to implement in order to be more like Dan's front person friend who can just. I mean, the whole idea is to basically just be an endorphin factory. Like you just are just filling these people with feel good, like brain chemicals by showing interest in asking the right questions and like all of that stuff. That's the whole point of it. And it doesn't.
And then
have
the trick
to be
is
fake.
to not have that be a manipulation.
Right. It's not even that. I think it's just, again, a lot of us don't necessarily have the soft skills to do that, even though that's ultimately what we want. And so it's just like anything else. Like it's a muscle that you have to exercise in order to get better at. So maybe right now I just took the boot off of my personality.
All right.
And
it's gonna feel awkward and weird. You're not gonna take tiny little weird steps.
Yep. Until I don't need the boot anymore.
Yeah, you're gonna limp for no reason, just like me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a science to it, and there's a way to. But I mean, ultimately, the thing that helps curate those relationships is a consistency of contact. Ultimately, like find a way to reach the people that want to keep up with what you've got going on.
Yep.
That can be social media. That could be a mailing list. That could be.
Well, listen, let me tell you, a mailing list for me has been, and I've said it a bunch of times, so much more valuable than social. Because like I can land a 300 to 500 word message that the evidence shows people open and read.
Yeah, and it goes directly to the people that you want it to go to.
Directly to them. I can say everything I want to say in the tone I want to say it in. And I grieve over it, man. It takes me 2 or 3 days to get one written because I really work on having the tone be fun and light and, whatever. They're about to cut on me one was a little less that way, but the next one will be awesome. Yes, mailing list is very much more personal, and very much, people read it and the feedback I hear is that they feel like I wrote to them. It's just like a real connection rather than an event they saw on Facebook and, oh yeah, I remember those guys.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the trick here, and it's not a trick. It's not a trick. It is a process.
Yeah.
And it is a methodology. Is to just you need to find a way to reciprocate the appreciation that they are showing by coming to your stuff to them. Yeah. In whatever way you can. Dan, you've got this very cool kind of exclusive deal. Yeah. It's like the inner sanctum kind of idea. It's kind of like what the Patreon is for us, like people being in the Slack. That's the inner circle. That's the access. That's the thing that, it kind of shows an additional level of dedication. Right. Or in your case, an entire 6-pack's worth of dedication, when it comes to collectibles and stuff. And it also, it's a cool way for you to try out new merch ideas and that kind of thing. And
sure,
it kind of gets to be like, the incubator around like certain things. Like first off, you've got a group of people that you can absolutely glean data from, because taking their feedback and their input and implementing it into your performances is a very gratifying, like, honorable thing for you to do
100%
for the people that follow you.
Yeah.
So you've got this eager, population of people who want to give you the information that's going to make your shows better.
Yeah.
So leverage that.
And better for them, and then
better for you.
Improve, so it's better for them, and it's just this wonderful virtuous circle.
If you can curate it, it really does put you at an unbelievable advantage, especially in your local market, because it becomes a thing that you can count on, but it's also a thing that you can leverage to build your career. Yeah. Because if you know that it doesn't matter where you play or when it is, there's going to be 5,200 people showing up, your ticket's written. Yep. You can play wherever you want. You can play whenever you want. You can play that's it. That's ultimately what every single band on the planet is looking for.
Right.
Is just a guaranteed just mess of people every time you do something. Like that's the dream.
Right. So
it is within your best interest to put some effort behind it.
Yes.
And if it's, as a solo act, it'd be kind of hard because you're spinning a lot of plates. But if there was a role in your group to delegate something to, if there was a person that, the way that I look at it is like every place I've worked at, there's been some sort of like personality test thing. And it's either you're a this or a that, or you're a color, or you're a whatever. In the color one, I'm like a blue, which, basically just means that I want to be alone and I need to be quiet and I'm by myself. And then there's yellow, and yellow people are just, they want to be around people. Like, you're a yellow. So it's in my best interest for like members only to take one of our yellow members, which we absolutely have one. Jeff is our bass player, is the yellowest person in our group by a long shot. Every time I send him out to do front facing stuff, or if he advances a site, talks with clients, like, they absolutely love him because he is fantastic. That is an incredible skill set that he has. And, if I can put him in front of more folks, I want to do that because it makes all of us look better. So if that's not your forte, find somebody in your band who it is their forte and let them do it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everybody will benefit from that. So work on it, work on yourself, but also find a person who's naturally good at it and probably make them in charge. And then just foster it, keep busy, but keep the people that care about you informed. Don't punish them. Don't drown them in. I mean, let's talk about mailing list stuff. What would you say is the safe interval?
If you have enough news to make it worth it, I'd say monthly.
Okay. But realistically,
well, when I was playing weekly trivia and I had different topics and I was announcing what those were, and plus I had band and solo acoustic stuff, I was shooting it monthly. I was shooting for the first of the month, and I would lay it all out and hear the trivia topics that are coming up, and pictures from last week, and I made it fun and as good content as I could. But I had the gig count to support it.
Sure.
When I didn't have that anymore, I stopped doing that, and it was once a quarter, maybe.
Yeah. Every 6 weeks,
something.
Try, make sure that you've got something to give them. Don't punish people.
Right.
Like, find some sort of natural rhythm to post to, and try and just keep at it.
Yeah.
And if you're busy once a month, perfect. It allows people who, may not have the ability to go to everything, be able to pick and choose the things so that they can maximize the amount of times they get to see you, and, all that stuff. Yeah. So make sure it's informative, make sure it's inclusive, make sure it feels valuable, because if it doesn't, then you're just spam like everything else.
Yeah. What are you doing?
And that's ultimately what you want to avoid. So this is awesome.
Yeah.
I think I learned something. That's really all we can hope for.
Yeah, it's good.
Did you learn anything? Are we completely off the mark? Let us know. Coverbandconfidential@gmail.com. We get, for whatever reason, the good emails and the bad emails, they come to the same address. It's wild.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of bad ones. Mostly that's saved for the YouTube comment section. I had a guy left something, called me a moron on the video I made about the Behringer wing rack leaking back in October. He's like, "You're an idiot. I bought mine in January." And I was like, "Yeah, except this one came out October 1st of 2024. So maybe you're the moron."
Maybe.
In this conversation.
Who's the moron now?
Yeah. I love the internet. Anywho, he's probably not going to be one of our fans.
No,
he won't show up
won't
on our
be a
mailing
loyal
list.
following person. No.
Oh, well.